welcome to the first video in our 7-day self-care series. I'm really excited that you've signed up to this, so thank you so much for joining us. Today we're going to be giving you the groundwork for the rest of the series. So today is all about the neutral pelvis. During the next 6 videos we'll actually be referring to the neutral pelvis quite a bit and helping you to come back to it. The reason why this is the first video in the series is because the neutral pelvis, if you can find it and kind of stay in it, your body has a much better chance of being able to heal itself and to stay in a state of well-being. So it's really simple, and what has happened is over time a lot of people have not been able to stay in the neutral pelvis position. So had we squatted and all of the things that we would have done throughout a more primal lifestyle, then our body wouldn't probably get into the states that it often does. So we get a lot of issues coming into our hips, particularly when we get internally rotated femurs. So everything kind of goes inwards. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to help you find the neutral pelvis and understand why it's a little bit more important. So what you want to do is you want to be standing, preferably standing in front of a mirror so that you can actually have a look at yourself side on. It becomes really helpful to be able to feel and see what's going on with your body, because then when you're out and about living your life, being super active and doing all the fun things that you do, you can actually come back to these positions because you have like a kinesthetic recall. So you can kind of say to yourself, standing in the line at the post office, like, oh, yeah, cool, there's my neutral pelvis. I can sort of hang out there for a little bit. So what you want to do, standing in front of the mirror, first things first, you need to get your feet straight. So you want your feet to be toes facing forward, about shoulder width apart. Some people come in too narrow, some people come too wide. I have a tendency to be quite wide with my feet, my foot stance. So, but we've got Catherine here, she's quite good. So you kind of want to make sure that sort of your knee kind of matches up sort of with your shoulder width. So it's a nice kind of level line here. So then the next part is looking at the actual pelvis, so the hips. So what you want to do, often people will either be tucked right under, so it's a very much a sitting all day kind of position, or they'll be pushed right out. And often this comes from wearing elevated shoes, so being on your tippy toes all the time, and that's how your body kind of balances out and distributes the forces of being on your tiptoes all the time with your positively heeled shoes. And in the next video after this one, we'll actually be addressing some of the issues that come up with positively heeled shoes. So from here, flat, toes nice and straight, what you want to do is you want to unfurl your pelvis. So you want to kind of come back, and it's generally a little bit further back than you probably imagine it would be. So you can kind of pop your hands on your bum, just kind of feel, go backwards and forwards and feel kind of how it feels to move the hips backwards and forwards. And I do get people to place both hands on the front of their pelvis, kind of touching their pubic symphysis. And I want you to imagine that you have a bowl filled with water, and if you tip too far forward, all the water falls out in the front. If you tip too far back, all the water goes out the back. And there will be a kind of a sweet spot where you find where it all kind of feels like the water sits nice and level. So it's a really good way to just help you connect with where your hips are sitting and kind of where that sort of, how that all kind of feels from the inside of your body. So what you'll find now is once you're in that neutral pelvis position and your hips are sitting in neutral, what's actually happened is the quads and the knee pits aren't sitting correctly. So we actually want the knee pits at the back of the legs here. I'll get you to just turn this way for me. The knee pits should actually sit facing directly behind you. So you can sort of see here, if I place my fingers onto the back of Catherine's knee pits, even though her pelvis is in a neutral position, her legs are making a compensatory pattern to come behind her. So we actually want to pull that around this way. So we want that to be facing directly behind her. Now, a lot of you guys are going to find this really challenging, and I understand that. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me, and I'll do my best to help you kind of work through this. But you have to remember that this is going to be a work in progress, and I really want to meet you where you're at, as opposed to trying to impose on you how this should be. But this is the ideal world. If we were living in the ideal world, then your knee pits will be facing back. And so they're not going to be from the beginning, but the more you practice getting into this position, the easier and easier it will become. And eventually it will just become the habit that your body's in, and you won't even notice that you're doing it anymore. So bring the knee pits to the back, and just, you want to come. So you can see that even challenges Catherine quite a bit to get her femur, like the top leg bone, to turn so that her knee pits are facing directly behind her. So I'll get you to turn back facing me. Thank you. So now you've found your neutral pelvis position. Your knee pits are facing to the back. Excellent. But what you've got now, as you can see, Catherine's quads have gone like, we can do heaps of work. So this is the hardest part of this entire positional corrective, is to get your quads now, because your quads have been doing a lot of work for a lot of the time, to kind of turn off and let your body rest into this position. So you want to allow those quads to turn off, and how you do that is by shifting your weight slightly back into your heels. So you can see it was really subtle, but I'm going to get you to bring your hand here. But if you watch, so just come back into, yeah, there it is. You can see Catherine's quads quite on here, and as she shifts back onto her heels a little more, her quad relaxes, and as she lets her quad go completely, her kneecap starts to drop towards the floor. So for people with chronic knee pain, often the kneecap isn't sitting quite in the right position for it to actually articulate well through that joint motion. So this position allows for the kneecap to slip down, back closer towards the foot, and actually gives you some relief of pain from the knee. So let's run through it one more time. Feet straight, shoulder width apart, popping your hands onto the front of your pelvis. Do a little kind of tip. Find that balance point where it feels neutral and that water in the bowl seems flat and calm. Spend a couple of seconds hanging there. And you can see Catherine's knee pits turning to the back, her quads turning off, and her knee relaxing and slipping down to that position. Thanks so much, guys, for joining us again today, guys. This is the first video in our 7-day self-care series, so it definitely gets better from here. This is probably the most challenging corrective that we've got in the whole series, and I wanted to give you the maximum number of days and time to be able to get this kind of right. If you get this corrective right, then everything else will just build from here. So thank you so much for joining me. And like I said, if you have any questions or if you need any assistance, please don't hesitate to send me a quick email on christy@feelingpeachy.com.au, and I'll do my best to help you out. So thanks so much, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.